Hi, everyone. So this is our third video on quadratic equations. Okay, in the previous two videos, we've learned how to solve the um, quadratic equation by using factorization. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do it by using quadratic formula. Okay, first of all, let me have a quick review of what's a quadratic formula and why should we use it. Okay, so quadratic formula is to deal with the general form of a quadratic equation. So first of all, you must have your general form of the quadratic equation. General form of quadratic equation, which is, of course, start with ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So that's a general form. Remember, for the general form, all terms should be on the left-hand side equals 0, on the right-hand side, and you must start with the x squared term, and then the x term, and then the last one is the constant, right? So the quadratic formula is a formula to get the solution of that quadratic equation. So okay, so minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac, and the whole thing divided by 2a. So it's a very complicated equations, but you don't need to worry too much about memorizing this equation, because in the exam this will be in the formula sheet, so you don't need to um, worry about whether you would forget the formula in the examination. Okay. All right, so that's the quadratic equation, and also you have that formula. So why do we need to learn it? So that's the problem. Why shall we learn it? Okay, so first of all, you need to see whether that formula will give you the same solution as we did that in the quadratic in the factorization. Let me just give you one very quick example. For example, if I have x squared, I'm going to solve x squared minus, possibly I just do easier, 3x and plus 2 equals 0. Okay, so we used to solve it by using factorization, right? So to factorize, you can draw a table or matrix. All right, so that's not very good. Okay, you put x squared here, you put plus 2 here, and then you have x over here, you have plus 2 here. So this one's a really easier one. Okay, and you see that's plus 1x plus 2x becomes plus 3x, which match the middle term. Okay, so that means the answer is x plus 2 times x plus 1 equals 0. And then you will get that x plus 2 equals 0. That's nil factor law. So x equals minus 2, while x equals minus 1. So that's the method of factorization. But let's try formula. Okay, let's try quadratic formula. Okay, to use quadratic formula, you need to get that a, b, and c first. Okay, in that case, what's the a? A is the coefficient of x squared, so a is just 1. So what would be the b? So b is just 3, and c is just 2. Okay, to emphasize this, I would just try to put those numbers in. So x squared in front of x squared, there's no such number, so that should be 1. In front of x, that's plus 3. You see, that's plus 3. In front, and the constant term just 2. Okay, so all are positive, so So they are quite simple. All right, so after you've got A, B, and C, you can just use the formula x squared minus, okay, so let me copy the formula here, minus B plus minus B squared minus 4AC, right? So B is minus 3 plus minus, and that would be B squared minus 4AC in the square root sign. So 3 squared minus 4 times A times C. Okay, and divided by 2 times A, so 2 times 1. Okay, then of course you need to get a number inside the square root. So 3 squared is 9, 9 minus 4 times 1 times 2 is 8, so 9 minus 2, 8, sorry. So this bit just 9 minus 8. So that will give you 1, right? So what's square root 1? Square root 1 is just 1, so just plus minus 1 over 2. Okay, so how can we deal with that plus or minus? That means there are two answers. One answer is minus 3 plus 1 divided by 2. That's one of the answer. And there's another answer, minus 3 minus 1 over 2. So for the first one, minus 3 plus 1, that's minus 2 over 2. So that's minus 1. So for the second one, minus 3 minus 1, which is minus 4 divided by 2. So that's minus 2. So when you compare the answers right here and the answers the answers what we got in the previous method, they are the same. So that's why the quadratic formula can actually get the same answer as the factorization method did. All right. Okay, but we haven't fully answered this. Why should we learn it? If the factorization could do the job, why we have to learn quadratic formula even though it is another method to get the answer? Okay, the reason is sometimes you will see that some quadratic equations you can't use factorization. Okay. Okay. So some quadratic equations cannot be solved by, let's say, ordinary factorization methods. So that means some quadratic equation, they just can't be factorized in a normal way. Okay, let me give you one example for that. Okay, so for example, this equation. Oh, sorry. Let me try this one. Okay, so you see this equation can't be factorized. Okay, it can't be factorized. You can try, but it won't work. So if you try to do it in a table, okay, try to do it in a table. Sorry, the table is ugly. All right, so I put x squared here, I put minus 1 here. So of course I can only get x and x. So minus 1, you don't have many choices. You can put minus 1 here and plus 1 here. Then you will have minus 1x plus 1x. Okay, so these are two like terms. You need to add them up. Plus 1x minus 1x, so it becomes 0. 0x, so that means the middle term will, there shouldn't be any term of x because they just cancel out. But your middle term is plus 1x. Okay, so that means tabulation, it just can't work. Okay, so because that's the only possible way to put numbers in the table, but it doesn't work. That means tabulation just fails. It just can't be factorized. So that means it can't be factorized by using table. Okay, so that's why for this question you can't solve it by using factorization methods. So that's why you have to use quadratic formula. You don't have any other option. Okay, so how to solve this one? Let's say if you have this quadratic equation, let me see the number. So that's number 1 here, another number 1, and this is just -1. Okay, so the variable, the constant for A, B, and C is A equals 1, B equals 1, C equals -1. Okay, and you can use that formula. Let me write that formula again. Minus B plus minus square root inside which B squared minus 4AC divided by 2A. So -1 plus minus 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times -1 over 2 times 1. Okay, so that will become -1 plus or minus. Okay, so this is, okay, so that becomes 1. So 1 minus 4 times -1. So -4 times -1 is actually plus 4, right? Negative times negative become plus. So the things inside is 1 plus 4, which is 5. Okay, so that's the answer because you can't simplify further. Can't simplify further. Can't be simplified further. Why? Because that 5 is not a square number. Okay, unlike in the previous case. Okay, oh, sorry, where is it? Okay, in the previous case, that's the number in the square root is 1. Square roots of 1 is still 1. But here, it's quite different. So that would be the answer. So you see, the answer is like it contains some square roots that can't be further simplified. That's one of the reasons why we can't do it by using tabulation. Okay, so that actually means if you have to use quadratic formula, it's very likely you will see the answers like this. You will see some square root number that can't be simplified further. Okay, anyway, let's go back to the handout. Okay, in the handout, I will ask you to solve quadratic equation using quadratic formula. Okay, even though in the exam, I might not ask you to solve them using quadratic formula, but if you can't solve them by using factorization, then you have to use quadratic formula. Okay, so first you have to pick up what are the A, B, and C. So it's very important to recognize A, B, and C. Okay, so I see for x squared minus 4x plus 1, the number in front of x squared is 1. The numbers in front of that x is -4, and the numbers for C is just +1, so just 1. Okay, so that's why you pick up A equals 1, B equals -4, and C equals 1. Then you can use that formula right here. Okay, let's do it. So x equals so that's minus, and b is -4, so that 2 minus. If you don't like it, you can put brackets over here. Okay, and be careful here because your b is negative number. You better put a bracket before you write the square because otherwise it's wrong. So -4 square. Okay, -4 times a is 1, and also c is 1, and then you divide by 2 times a is 1. Okay, so a little bit maths need to be done. -4, so it's 4. Okay, so inside the square root sign, minus 4 squared, because that you have bracket, that means minus 4 times minus 4, which is 16. Okay, so that's 16 minus 4. Okay, it's 2. So you will have 12. Okay, so in year 10, we will just stop here. Okay, we'll just stop here. That's okay for year 10. But right now, you are year 11, so we need to do more. So you need to do more. How can we do more? Still remember that square root we can further simplify for the 12, because 12 is very special inside a square root sign. So let me try to show you a little bit. Like, can we just rewrite that 12 as 4 times 3? Okay, so that's very important. Decomposition. You decompose that 12 into 2 factor 4 times 3. Why are you choose 4 times 3 rather than 2 times 6? Because 4 is a square number, which is very important. 4 is a square number, which is very important. Okay, because we understand once you split that up, we've learned in year 10, square root 4 times square root 3 can be rewritten as square root 4 times square root 3, right? So you can just split that square sign into 2 by multiplication. And that square root 4 is 2. And how about that 3? 3 is still square root 3. It can't be further simplified. Okay, so after this, you will have 4 plus or minus 2 square root 3. So that's just a little bit more work, which you've learned in year 10. But in year 10, normally we don't need to do that for the quadratic equation. Right now you need. Okay, so how about here? All right, so some of you might think about simplifying. Okay, so don't copy. This is just wrong. Can we just cancel out like that? No, because right now that's still a 4. Okay, so you can't cancel out part of the numerator, which is being added or being taken away by another number. Okay, so you can't do that, so which is wrong. So, but can we simplify that? Yes, you need to look for any common factor in the numerator. Can we take something out of it? Okay, so that's the only way you can do it. So if you observe that in 4 and 2, there's a common factor called 2, all right? So can I take 2 out? So once I take 2 out as a common factor, so this 2 is the common factor in the numerator. Okay, if I take that 2 out, so here remains 2 and the 2 has gone, so square root 3. Okay, so see that 2 2's in both denominator and numerator, then you can kind of cancel them out. Okay, you can only cancel them out after you take the common factor out of the bracket. Okay, so the answer would just be, okay, so you see in the final answer, that's square root 3, so which can't be simplified further. And so this is very natural. For the question, you have to use quadratic formula. Once you use quadratic formula, that means that those questions can't be factorized easily. And for questions they can't be factorized, normally in the answer you will see those short, okay, with long square number, okay, right? Like square root 3, which is a long square number. Okay, for the second question, and actually this one is easier than the first one. All the coefficients are given, like a equals 1. Then pick up those numbers. So a is 1, and the number in front of x is plus 6, and the number um, in front of the constant is plus 2. Okay, so all coefficients are constant. Okay, so as a practice, I would like you to take, possibly you need at least 4 minutes. Try to solve this one. Is that okay? 4 minutes. So please pause the video and spend 4 minutes on this question. All right, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, so all you need to do is to put the numbers into the formula, right? Okay. Okay, so that 36 minus 8, 28. Okay, so again, if you stopped, you stopped here. That means you are still doing the things in year 10 standard. But right now we need to go further because that's 28. You can see 28 can be decomposed into 4 times 7, and 4 again is a square number. Okay, and so you can have square root 4 times square root 7. Okay, so you will have 2 times square root 7 over 2. Okay, right, so you see 2 and minus 6. Again, don't cancel out that 2 with the 2 in the denominator. 2 and minus 6 have a common factor as 2, so you take 2 out of it. All right, so is that okay? All right, and then you just cancel out that 2, and so that's the answer. Again, you see a long square number 7 inside the square root sign, so that means you can't go further with this one. Okay, so these are 2 examples, and there are some examples we use quadratic formula is the equation they're not in the proper general form. Okay, so for those equations, you need to write the quadratic equation into general form first, like this one. So if they are not in the general form, then you have to rearrange the terms, okay, into the general form. So that's you can pick up A, B, and C. You can't pick up A, B, and C when the equation is not in the general form. Is that okay? So like in this case, 6x squared, let me copy the question again. Okay, so this is not in the general form. So your step 1, you have to do it to rearrange it. Like that's minus 7x, you need to bring to the left hand side and make it plus 7x, and that's 5. You bring that to the left hand side, becomes minus 5. Okay, so right now you can see that's pretty much you have a proper form. Then you could find the value of A and B and C. So what would be the value of A, B, and C? Okay, so I will let you to do it by yourself. Okay, in I think this one possibly another 5 minutes. So let's pause the video again. Okay, I don't think that will be too difficult for you guys. All right. So A is 6, B is 7, and how about C? If you have written C as 5, then it's wrong. It must be minus 5. So remember, if that's negative number, then you have to carry the sign with the number as well. Okay, so that's it, and then you need to use that formula. Okay, so this is the formula, and you apply it. Okay, minus B, so minus 7. Okay, 7 squared minus 4 times 8 times minus 5. Sorry. Okay, 2 times 6. Okay, so you then have minus 7. Okay, 7 square. So what will be the contents inside? So remember in in method, just like what we did in the last exam in year 10 extension maths, there will be one paper, which is paper 1. You can't use calculator. All right, so you need to get used to doing some maths without calculator. So that 7 square is 49. Okay, and so it's 49, and that's basically 4 times 6 minus 24, minus 24 times minus 5, so it becomes plus 120, right? Okay, so that's 12. So that becomes 169 over 12. Okay, so what do you think? Do you think this number can be further simplified? I give you a few. If you stopped here, then you need to think about whether that we can carry on doing something on this question. Okay, so actually, if you observe, that's 169 is a square number. So the square root of it actually equals, okay, sorry about the spacing. Um, that actually becomes 13, right? Okay, so that means this question actually, the answer, the square root sign um, can be cancelled out because the number inside is a square number. All right. So remember, once you have that plus or minus, that means there are two solutions. One is just plus, and the other is minus. Okay, so the first one is actually 6 over 12, which is 1/2. And okay, so and the other one is just minus 20 over 12. So if you try to simplify it by dividing by 4, both below and above. Okay, so that's basically the answers, right? So there are two answers in this case again. Okay, so need to be um, careful about the numbers within the square sign. Okay, sometimes they can simplify, and sometimes sometimes they can't be simplified, like square root 7, and then you stop there. But sometimes it's like square root of 169, then it becomes a square number. Sometimes it's partially a square number, like square root 28. So it's partially a square number because you can decompose that 28 into 4 times 7. Just like 12, you can decompose it into 4 times 3, and that 4 can be taken the square root. All right, so that's the example 3. So how about example 4? So again, this one you can see is not in the proper form. Okay, so I will try to get you to do it by yourself. I'll give you like, again, try to do it with, okay, if you can't solve everything within 5 minutes, then spend more time until you are ready. Okay, so just pause the video momentarily. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's go back to the question. Okay, first of all, this equation is not in the general form, so you need to get the general form by moving terms. Okay, so to start with, the question is about x squared minus 2x equals 4. Then I move that 4 to the left hand side to make it into the general form. Then I will get a, b, and c from that equation. Okay, so you need to be careful here because there are lots of minus sign right here. So obviously the number in front of x squared is just 1, and you have minus 4 here. Sorry, minus 2 and minus 4 here. Right? So the A is just 1, but your B is minus 2, C is minus 4. Okay, then use your formula. X equals minus, okay, so that's another minus. If you like, you can, it's a good habit always try to have a bracket on, pair of brackets on the negative number. And here you must have the brackets. Remember that. If that's negative number, you must have that bracket and square. Minus 4 times A times C. Okay. And divided by 2 times 1. Okay, so, and minus, bracket minus 2, so that means 2. Okay, how about minus 2 squared? So remember that minus 2 squared, so that means minus 2 times minus 2, which is 4. Okay, and minus 4 times minus 4, which is positive 16. Be careful about the negative sign. And try to do it without calculator, okay? So because this one could be in paper 1. Okay, so again, it's 20 square number. But okay, so obviously 20 is not a square number, but it can be decomposed into 2 parts. So you can say it's partially squared. It's a partially square number, okay? Because that 20 again, if you see, you can decompose that 20 into 4 times 5. All right, and that 4 will become 2. Because square root of 4 becomes 2, right? Okay, so don't stop here because you see that 2 and 2 in both terms in the numerator. So that means you can take out a common factor for that. Okay, so again, these 2 can be cancelled out. So your answer would just be 1 plus or minus square root 5. Is that okay? Yeah, so these are 2, we've done 4 examples. Okay, so I allow you to try to do it for the last 2 examples. If you got the correct answer, and then that's very good. All right, and here's a practice 3, and here's some homework. Okay, so you need to do your homework. Last time I forgot to remind you, you need to do the homework into a separate exercise book, or you can do your homework, if there's enough space, you can do the homework on the space left behind, but you need to show me the homework when we meet. Hopefully that will be the second week of January, of February. Then we will meet, then you will let me have a look what you've done during our online schooling. Right? So quadratic formula, you need to do a few questions here together with the questions I ask you to do. Okay, this one and that one. Okay, I guess possibly this one, and that's it. You just try 3 questions, and I don't think you need to spend lots of time, only 15 minutes, and you can finish them. Okay? Oh, good. And of course, you are always welcome to do more if you feel you need to develop higher fluency, then it's always sensible to do more. But I just give you the minimum amount you need to do. Otherwise, you might just the memory you can't retain the memory for much longer. Okay. Oh, good. And that's it. So see you next time.